So, hello everyone. So, we're here today to talk about the different basketball violations and fouls. So, there are five types of foul that I will talk about and one additional later, and some violations that is commonly called or commonly used in the sport basketball. So, here I have an illustration of the main court or the playing court for me to explain to you guys it properly. So for the violations, first things first, we have the 24-second violation. So what is a 24-second violation? So this is so in every pace or in every side, if you get the ball, your team has the ball, you have 24 seconds to make a shot. It needs to hit the main basket. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't. You doesn't need to shoot it. So what does this mean? If you shoot it, then you shoot it. So, but if you don't and you get the offensive rebound, so you will get another 14 seconds to shoot. So 24-second violation or the 24-second shot clock is being repeated every pace. So for the next one, the 3 in the key. So there is some counting that is happening on the court. So if you have the ball, so example, your team is on this side. So if you're playing the position of center, power forward, or small forward, you basically needs to run on the paint or the inside basket. So the three in the key or the 3-second violation applies when you or your teammate stayed on this paint, on the inside paint. So you need to keep going around and you don't, please avoid on staying too much or staying in 3 seconds consecutively. So the second one, we will have the double dribble. So double dribble is when you're dribbling is when you touch the ball with your both hands. So if you're dribbling, you normally use your dominant hand or your non-dominant hand unless you hold it. So when you dribble, you only use one hand. So if you use two hands after dribbling, you cannot dribble it anymore. You can shoot it or pass it to dribble again. But if you dribble and then you hold it with your two hands, you cannot dribble anymore. Or you will be called a double dribbling. And so next, we have the charging. So charging is applied when you're having so much power in charging into the basket. This is commonly called when you're playing offensively. So when you charge, so I cannot explain it in the simplest term, but if you charge or in the post position, and this is commonly being called at the center and the power forward positions. So charging is when you put too much power and it makes your enemy somehow go down, or in Tagalog term is matumba. So if you put too much pressure in charging to the basket, you can be called in charging violation. And so next, we will have the traveling violation. This is the most common thing, the most common violation that all basketball players know. So traveling violation is applied when you step 3 times consecutively without dribbling the ball. So if you dribble and you step 3 times without dribbling it, you will be called traveling. But in some cases, traveling cannot be called if you use the 0 step. So this is a complex one since it's the timing wherein you step while not dribbling, and that will be called a 0 step. I can explain it in the simple term because it's so, it's so complicated. But The zero step includes 4 steps consecutively, but the first step will not be counted since it's the zero step and it's so complicated. And for the next one, it will be the 8-second violation. So 8-second violation is somewhat part of the 24-second violation on what we called earlier. So in here, and as what we used earlier, you have this side on your team. This will be your offensive side. So after your opposing team take a shot, if it go inside the basket or not, the 8-second will play automatically. Since if you get the ball here and this is your offensive side, you need to go you need to go on your offensive side within 8 seconds. Since if you stayed here for 8 seconds, you will be called by the referee. It will be the 8-second violation, and this will apply on the first and second quarter and the third and fourth quarter. So for the second to the last violations that are commonly used is the palming. So what is the palming? So in Philippines, this is often called as the lifting violation, but there's no such lifting violation in the FIBA rules. So palming is when you grab the ball with this position. So when you're dribbling, you're normally doing this. You can use your palm on dribbling, but if you dribble it and you hold it like this, it will be called a palming, or it's somehow part of the category of the double dribbling. And for simplest term, if you're familiar with the familiar term of the Filipino term, it is the lifting violation. And for the last one, we have the goaltending violation. So goaltending is the attempt to block. You will block a shot that is already on the slope of going down, or it touches the board or the ring. So, for example, you take a shot. It takes a slope wherein you're going like that. So, when it reaches the mid-air, on the high tip, and it starts going down, and when you block on that timing, it will be called goaltending. So the timing on the blockers was really important because goaltending is somehow one of the mistakes that is commonly made by many players. So that's all for our violations that is commonly called in basketball. So let's go on to the fouls. So what are the 5 types of fouls and one that is not included in our list? So for the first one and the very important one is the personal fouls. So this includes the charging violation, the blocking foul, and some physical fouls that you may do. So in here you get to have 6. So according to FIBA rules, there's 6 personal fouls was the maximum, and if you get 6 personal fouls, you will be fouled out of the game, and you cannot play on the rest of that game. So personal fouls is committed by an individual player. So every player has their own counting of personal fouls, and it's just your teammates doesn't care about, or I don't mean doesn't care, but your teammates won't affect your personal fouls. But the one subunit or one of the type of foul that is not included in our list was the team fouls. So team fouls includes personal fouls. Personal fouls of every playing player. So playing players are the one who are playing on the main court, even if it's on the starting 5 or on the bench players. So team fouls is combined personal fouls that is committed in a quarter. So per quarter, team fouls is being restarted, and the maximum that you can get is 5. So once you reach 5, your team or you will be punished on the penalty side. So penalty is happening when your team fouls has reached 5, and this allows the enemy to go to the free throw line easily. So even if you gain 5 team fouls, so the next foul that you will give, even if it is not a blocking foul or shooting foul, the opposing side or the opposing team will automatically have a chance to be on the free throw line. And for the second type of foul is the flagrant foul. So flagrant foul, and the third foul that we will tackle is the intentional foul. So this contains physical fouls. And it is on the referee's choice on what they will call. So flagrant foul is something we can classify as dangerous fouls. So it's not intentional, but it's too dangerous. And sometimes it's intentional and it's too dangerous as well. So flagrant fouls is committed when it's on the decide or in the climax part of the game, and this is somewhat not rare in a basketball game. So flagrant foul is committed through dangerous fouls. So intentional fouls. So these are made by the players or the team that is on the verge of losing, and this is happening mostly on the latter part of the game, on the ending part, on what we call. So just on the main or the best known time on making intentional fouls was the last 2 minutes on the fourth quarter. So intentional fouls is somewhat we can call the needed fouls. So you need to foul the enemy team or the opposing players that has the ball for you to break the pace or the momentum that the enemy is having. So for the fourth foul, we have the shooting foul, and the fifth one is the technical foul. So this is somewhat related to each other as well. So shooting foul is committed through when you committed a foul while the enemy team is attempting to shoot. If it's a jump shot and the enemy is on the air and you fouled him, and then the enemy have the ball inside the basket, it will be the shooting foul. And even though the ball doesn't go on the basket, it's still called as a shooting foul. So shooting foul is the one that is what I said earlier. Shooting foul makes the enemy go to the free throw line, and this doesn't require team fouls because this is personal fouls, and this acquires when you foul the player or the opposing player that is trying to shoot. So when the ball goes in a shooting foul, the player gets the 2 points or the 3 points, and they will have 1+ shot in the free throw line. So it can make a 3-point play or a 4-point play. So if the shot doesn't go in the basket, so if you take a shot here inside the paint or inside the 3-point range, if you have a shooting foul and it doesn't go in, you will have 2 shoots in the free throw line. But if you get fouled here outside of the 3-point range and it doesn't go in, you will gain three shots in the free throw line. But in the free throw line, it only scores 1 point. So it's somehow risk taking because you can miss that and it can cost you. So and the last foul will be the technical foul. So technical fouls is somewhat complicated as well, since technical foul is being called according to the referee. If this can be called when the players rage too much, players have a ramble or somewhat complicated situation, heated moments, and this can't only apply to the players. This can also apply to the coaches, to the staffs of the team, on the bench. Since technical foul covers so wide range, this is something that a team is avoiding in a game. Since this can, if you're having a pace, if you're called a technical foul, the enemy team automatically gets a free throw shot. And it depends on the referee if it will be a one shot free throw or a two shots. And it can give the ball side on the enemy as well. So that's all in the basketball main called violations and the types of fouls. And I hope that you learned something, and thank you.